I love it so much, and there's so much beauty there. Stuff we're gonna dig into here to come. And first, let's let Mike come on. And Mike, most everybody knows you, but in case they don't, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the Hounds of Business, and all the great stuff you got going on here in LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Hey, first of all, thank you for having me here. Love having you in the pack. Um, it's been a pleasure. You haven't been here that long, but feels like you've been here a long time in a good way, right?
Thank
So, yeah, I am Mike Asherbrenner, the Redneck Connector. Humbled and proud, just unbelievable that I lead such a heart-centered, high-level community of just amazing people. Real quick how I got started because everybody wants to know. I did not set
you.
out to do this. Last thing on my mind was to start a community. Um, but you know how Chris Rock jokes about Zuckerberg making Facebook because he didn't have any friends. Well, dadgummit, that's exactly how the Hounds of Business got started. So, long story short, after COVID, didn't know how to translate, the know, like, and trust, nurturing relationships online. I was blessed to meet a guy who helped guide me in that. And then I started repeating that process and loving on people and getting to build, real relationships with people, not trying to pitch slap with a P and spam people, but just to really provide any value I could, right? Help them grow, help them build business. And then about 6 to 7 months into that, the economy went down. I have a financial business, and I was able to help them. They came to me, and so we have made that formula really reciprocity, kindergarten skills. We're very we do a lot of business, but we do it without the pitch slaps and the hardcore sales. So it's just an amazing community of great people, and I am blessed. And then now I get to go on things like this, right? It's
Yeah.
case in point, right? So
Yeah.
um, love this opportunity to get out there and help people get unstuck. That's what we're
Yeah,
about.
I love that, and I love that you just stepped in and created, and I love that about entrepreneurs, that that's kind of the thing that we do. If it doesn't exist, we're gonna create it. I hear people say all the time, I want to do this, that, or the other, and especially today in this day and age with all the different platforms there are and all of those things. Don't worry about being you don't have to worry about being unique. Turn your camera on. You are unique, right? There's no competition. Just turn your camera on. Do what it is that you want to do. If that's singing, if that's dancing, if that's helping in business, if that is having a summit with 50 speakers in 20 days, do it. Let's go, right? Because we get to do whatever
Right.
we want to. There's nothing that's stopping us. So I absolutely love that. Casey, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you do on just a little bit of a deeper level, right? Because what does it mean that you help, four-legged animals and you help two-legged animals and with their nutrition needs, and what does all of that mean?
Well, it's kind of really complicated, and I love the explanation is when you hear that I'm a doctor of animal science, and they're like, "Oh, you're a DVM, you're a veterinarian," and I'm like, "No, no." And I think my friend mentioned it the other day that I think this is a great explanation. Is veterinarians treat problems, and we help prevent problems. So
Yes.
through my work, I help the companies develop products that can replace antibiotics, for instance, can
Okay.
keep the gut healthy, can promote longevity in animals. So we're looking at both from a performance standpoint, if we're looking at the meat animals that I work with, but also if we look in the dogs, performance dogs, we look in horses, performance, all of that takes a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's lots in biochemistry, biology, nutrition, and it's really putting different things in and managing that animal for it to be successful. The same that we do for ourselves. And there's a lot of terms out there, but it really dives into the science and understanding the biochemical pathways of our bodies and optimizing that. And that's basically, in a nutshell, my goal as an animal nutritionist to do that. But through that, I help people also develop and create that life that you said, let's do what we want. I didn't set out to do this either, Mike, to be my own business owner. I just got tired of corporate America and wanted to create a company that I could create solutions that help everybody and solve the real problems instead of necessarily looking at, you know, the dollar amount that I can make. And obviously that's important for any business, but it's really about coming up with solutions that help our animals and our people and our world thrive, right? It's that combination of the three. Everybody talks about sustainability, but that's been at the forefront of my career before it was a cool word. So I was cool.
Right before it was a buzzword.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love what you do. I love for me it's extremely fascinating. I mean, I love animals, but I know nothing about animals really. I know nothing about the industry that you're serving in, and so it's just super fascinating to me. And I always love when we can bring the world as an entirety, not just the people, but also the animals and the plant life. And when we can just bring the whole world into this place of wellness and, you know, being able to work together, and all of us, when we're all at our best, the world's at its best. And that's incredibly true. So I'm curious to hear from you, Mike. Do you have any questions for Casey about what it is that she does? Or like, I have so many that, I don't want to just be like, oh my God, Casey, tell me about this and this and this and this. But I'm curious, do you have any questions in general for Casey?
Yeah, it may have cut out. I've had a little. Thank you for that. I had a little audio issue. However, you know, maybe you answered this, but how, when did you have a passion for this and animals and really want to make it a career focus? Was it something you always had, or was it something that, you know, was there an instance throughout life that really prompted you to go all in?
Well, I've always wanted to work with animals, and the problem with that, and this is kind of goes into what I do as well from a outreach perspective, is I thought the only job I could go college, right, was a good student, was to become a veterinarian. And then I got to college and I got to work on the university swine farm, and oh, I get to learn about nutrition and research, and I didn't have to pay those huge bills to become a veterinarian. And the nice thing about my career path is I still say I'm not sure what I want to do when I grow up, because I've had the opportunity to do so much. And obviously, I got into this industry because of the animals, but it's really a people industry. Jenny, you mentioned that, you know, I don't understand what you do. It's really how do we work with people, animals, and the environment for us all to win? And that's ultimately, you know, what I do through science and, you know, the experimental process and scientific rigor of making the right decisions. But it's really, I work with people, I serve people, I help people just as much as I help animals. But as I said, I went into it for the passion of animals, and now it's about helping people too in our world.
Nice.
I do get that, because really we're the ones that are in, you know, charge, quote unquote, of how things are unfolding, how they're happening across. So I do get that aspect. It's you know, that I love science, you know, I love biology and all of those things. And I guess really what I'm saying is that I don't know that so much on the animal side, but the the passion of it, I completely, totally, 100% understand, and understand that we're working with humans, because, like I said, that's what we're always doing, because that puts us, we're at the center of the universe, and we need to be able to come together and do those things in a new way. Like you said, it's centered in love and compassion, and that's what everyone that's here, everyone that's watching, I know is all about, is being able to come in and become that integrated force of good, right? Of health and wealth, really is how I like to look at it. What do you think, Mike? How are you really focusing this year? What are you focusing on for yourself? What are you focusing on as far as the businesses that you're helping, that you're unfolding and you know, rallying around this year?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Honestly, it's getting more people, right? So many good people, good-hearted people with good intentions. And I'll be quite honest, I'm sick and tired of seeing them not have the time, money, and freedom to do more good things. That's really what it's about. We lack the resources, we lack the support. We have a lot of lack, right? So if you have money, you can invest money. But what about those folks who don't? So that's kind of where the Hounds fits in, right? We were just a bunch of people about 2 years ago who were just kind of struggling together to find our way. Some of us were successful, but we were hitting new levels. We didn't understand, how to grow social media. And what that's done over the couple of years is it's attracted people who already are successful, but they're not done yet, right? And
Yes.
what makes the ecosystem of the Hounds remarkable is that these folks reach down and pick up and help the other people that are a few steps behind them, right? So, I mean, amazing. We had Bob Berg, right? The Go Giver, right? We had him on, several weeks, promoting him and pushing him up. He was introduced to me by Tanya. So
Hmm.
she had a podcast. And so what I did, again, there's sales pitch and then there's bringing value and nurturing relationships.
Right.
So instead of trying to go after people and things, I decided to sit down and on a Sunday and help out Tanya for what she has done for me and so many other people in
Hmm.
house. Well, guess who reached out? Bob, right? Bob took notice of that. So, again, it's a more fun way of doing business. It's a more, instead of getting up and worrying about what I want, how I'm going to get what I want, I go focus on winners like Kevin and you and Isabel, and I help them get what they want. And good people reciprocate. It's like
Yeah.
when I rattle the bag of treats and the dog comes running, right? Like, that is the
Yeah.
same thing. We're not expecting it. We're not manipulating anything. We're creating the ecosystem, the environment that puts people who are already like that. That's their default response. Hey, I'm going to go out there and do something good for you because that's how I'm made, right?
Hmm.
Um, and that's really what we do. We put people in this ecosystem. We take them off competitive space. We take them off rented space of social media that we don't own, right? We can get booted from, and we put them in an environment that we can nurture the know, like, and trust in that journey that will eventually end in fierce advocates, people who will continuously send you people because they love who you are and what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's, the goal for all of us really is to create that ethos system and that ecosystem. And I see, Casey down there just like nodding all along with what you're saying, because I know that at the end of the day, right, that's your goal too, Casey, right, is for all of us to, and we do reciprocate. We do go back to say, oh yeah, man, God, I remember what it was like, right? When I was right there in that moment and I didn't know how to do this or that, but I got you. This is what I got for you. And you pull them in and take them under your wing, so to speak. And you just go into being able to share all of that information the best that you can and lifting each other up. I think that is absolutely 100% the good that has come out of the universal global shifts that we've had in the last few years is that, if you will, is like an earthquake that made a way for the centered people, the core center and the heart center, to kind of like rise up in this space. And I think that it's really beautiful, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. Casey, how do you see that in your world or in your industry? Do you see that as well, that that's something that's just kind of naturally happening? Or and I know that you're at the lead of that. You're at the lead of that in your industry. So how is that, working for you across in what it is that you do?
Well, that's really interesting because Mike and I sound a lot alike. I try to have that community. I try to help support, and it comes back, right, tenfold on you as well. But there is this shift right now in agriculture, and we can use this in. There's this shift that Mike talked about, like the corporate giants, and then these small people wanting to start their own business. And I've noticed this over the last couple of years. Everybody, coming even into the animal nutrition space, that, or even raising livestock, that have had no experience, didn't grow up on a farm, doesn't know the first thing about creating a dog treat, but they have a dog, they have a problem with the dog, and they want to create a solution, or they want to raise their own food and they want to be able to sell that to their local community, right? That family, that network. And so I see this very dynamic shift, and I work on both fractions. And I kind of help those people because I have 20 years of experience. I've raised livestock. I know everything. I've managed barns. as I tell everybody, there's probably not a job I haven't done in animal agriculture, in the animal nutrition space. So I really understand those different components. That's my unique thing. I may have a PhD, but I also have a PhD in hard knocks when it comes to it. And I'm more that network person, right? I bring resources together. I may not be the expert, but I'm really good at finding that for people. And I'm really helping those younger people who don't have that network, the business owners who have an idea that don't have the network, of trying to make them succeed. And I do see that split where there's not so much more in the middle anymore, but there's this whole opportunity coming of people who want to get involved in agriculture again and want to get involved even in their pet nutrition for their pets and their lifestyle. So it's been really fun that I still serve both entities, but my heart tugs on the underdogs and the new people and the new companies trying to come out, because I think, small business is, we look at the economic forefront and regardless of the media, there's signs there that, recession and everything's coming, where that group that I talk about that's coming up, that wants to raise their own food, that wants to create their own businesses, those are the entities we really need to help support, because they're going to drive food security, they're going to for their communities, they're going to drive economic conditions in their communities, and they have such a broader ability to sell and reach people of the same thought process than we ever did before with e-commerce. So it's not running a mom and pop feed store like it used to be, or, selling your pork just to your local community. I can ship that on ice across the country now. And I think that's really exciting, but it also brings complexities to that. But I think, that is where I'm trying to focus transitioning my business, is to help those people in that space, because you get overwhelmed with Google, right? Anybody can Google something and everybody's a Facebook expert, but it's really hard finding that true expert and helping, that wants to help you grow just as much as you want to grow.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that Mike's like, oh, yes, on the expert. So come on, come on and add to what's coming up for you there with the thought of, everybody is quote unquote an expert, but not really. Right. So how do we navigate?
Can I elaborate? Is that
Yes.
okay? Because this is a huge point for me. Not even 20 years ago, experts had, exclusive knowledge, right? Like you had to go to a travel expert or somebody in that field. Now you can Google 8 billion pages on money or something like that. Today's expert, and I completely agree with both of you. Today's expert is wise if you're in the current, days and you're effective, to help them weed through the 8 billion pages, right? Like who wants to go and research all of that? So that's how I view myself in
Yeah.
finance and community building is, hey, how do we weed through 8 gazillion pages? Take that one thing you need now, and then be able to, once you master this concept, move it to the next, right? A strategic A to Z roadmap, game plan, strategy. And I think that's what I hear you saying. It's not just about little one-offs or, do this thing, that thing. How do I put together a holistic system that can help me in business and life and wellness and mental health? And that's what today's profession, the top level, that's how you break through the noise. That's how you become a tree in a sea of grass, in my opinion, is to elevate that game and become a guide and expert versus a salesperson or just pushing a product. Right. And I think that's what I hear the common theme today. And that excites me like no other, because that's who we are, right? As a community. So I absolutely affirm it. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think that, even for myself, and I know that, there's a lot of beauty there also, though, to be able to educate yourself and not have to have, kind of like you were talking about earlier, Casey, right? Realizing that you did not have to be a veterinarian to work with animals and do the thing you do, your different passions. There are so many different angles and routes to what it is that we can do and what we can provide. And really the beautiful thing is that each person and what they've learned can take that knowledge and share it. And what we have to remember, I think, as consumers and even ourselves, right? Because, we all have our own coaches and we all have our own advisors and all of those things as well, is to remember that we are in an exponential time where everything is just evolving so fast. And it does mean being connected and interconnected with tons of different people that do tons of different things to really be able to pull all that information in together. And you don't, nor can you be able to go and only work with this one person's set of knowledge, right? You get this wide variety and range. And what that enables everyone to do is to step into their own autonomy. What they decide to do with that knowledge, if they decide that they want to, become a coach or a consult or anything, even if it's just this 10 little facts that there's somebody out there that needs those 10 facts. And if you can learn how to speak to them, right, good for you, because you get to do that and you are an expert on those 10 facts. And I think that can be really beautiful. Can it be frustrating also when you're looking for the expert that knows 100 or 1,000 things, that really has spent all of the time? It brings up an interesting thing for me, and I'm going to ask you this, Casey, because you do have a PhD, and that's something that I think is incredibly beautiful. It says so much about a person's tenacity, their grit, their resilience, their passion, and all of those things, because it takes a lot to get through life and also get through all of that schooling, all the, the learning, the studying, and all the things that go along with that. And I think it's really beautiful. Do you think that in the future, though, do you see that changing? Is it still as meaningful as it was? Will it become even more meaningful? Like, how do you see that?
I think the point is the knowledge is out there, so anybody can learn anything they want.
Yeah.
And I've been an advocate, at least for agriculture, and we look at the cost of secondary education. Now, please understand, I did have some loans for my undergrad, but I was one of those people hey, I have a free house for 2 years as part of my job. How can I graduate in college in 3 years? And then for my master's and my PhD, I worked full time for the university, and it took me longer to get those degrees. Mm-hmm. So as I said, the PhD of hard knocks I also had, right? Yes. So I was very thrifty when it came to my education, but it also set me up and prepared me to be better as a professional. Mm-hmm. But I really think we need to look at higher education differently than we have.
Yes.
And because the cost of education is just ridiculous. It's skyrocketed. We found through COVID, we don't necessarily need to sit in a classroom, but I do agree on certain classes, right, that we can learn ourselves. But it's really that continuous education. And, we look at all these opportunities for continuing education. They're everywhere, from Udemy for a cheap course that you can learn skills that I use and my team uses, to Coursera, to, going back to these universities. And so I'm also concerned about what that expert looks like, because a lot of university professors are full with people who've never worked in the industry. They may have some relationships, but when we look at some of these people, it's not really the experts teaching our next generation anymore. It's been armchair quarterbacks teaching our next generation. So I think we do need to look at secondary education, and then we look at innovation and the way, professors don't have the ability anymore just to come up with an idea. Because most of the professors, at least from a science perspective, we also have a research component to their jobs. We have to have NIH grants, and we have to have all these grants, and we have to have all these patents so the university can make money. And it's not like how it was discovery, right? And so it's complicated how we've not only changed education for the future, but how innovation is going to happen in the future. And we need different systems to help educate people, to spark their interest. We need different learning environments for people. And we can use animal science as an example. Is traditionally, it wasn't too many women in my industry, and now we look at animal science departments and people coming out with that degree because a lot of females want to become vets in that profession as well. Like 80 to 90% of undergrads are female. And now I have my male friends asking me, well, that's probably not a good pendulum swing either. And I think it's just because of how we set up these education tracks that hinder different people being successful in it. And I have a PhD, but please understand that I don't think I need a PhD to do what I do.
No, absolutely not.
I have the thirst of knowledge and learning and the scientific method to do what I do. But I really do think education system needs to be overhauled. Plain and simple. It's not the future. It's not memorizing. It's not being able to take a test.
No.
And, you know, my husband's a police officer. Mike, I think you mentioned you used to be a firefighter, you know, and he's talking about the new police officers and the training. It's trial by fire and different things. And so how do you prepare for different careers out there is something we all really need to refocus of what that education system needs to look like from, you know, not necessarily secondary, but even elementary and up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a lot about education, you know, the other day, and I have a couple more guests later in the summit that are also very focused on education. And Mike, you do have yourself, right? Your 2 college degrees, and you were a firefighter. Like I was a firefighter and paramedic also. And so we do have that in common. And I'm going to let you speak about your experience and what your thoughts are, and then I'll add mine.
Yeah, I love that. That was a lot of stuff there. It was a lot to unpack, but I'll try to keep it simple. Yeah, one of my initial thoughts was, you know, amateurs do things alone, right? And it's okay to start off that way. You know, you Google things, you want to check things out, you look at videos, you talk to people, but at some point, once you find that spark and once you find that excitement, you need to go to the next level. Then that means making a time and monetary investment, right? So first of
Yes.
all, I agree completely with what you said. And I mean, top level athletes, right? Always hone their skills. They have multiple coaches and they graduate from that. So I love what Casey had said about formal education. Don't even get me started on that. Oh my gosh, that'll derail the whole convo because we're still doing our educational system based on industrial revolution. Now we're what you can argue that we're in the post information phase, and here we are still producing people that like we did for the assembly line, right? Task oriented jobs. It makes no sense to me. And then COVID comes along and kind of takes, we're busy, there's no reason to kind of rock the boat, right? And then COVID comes along and everybody's like, "Oh, this sucks," right? We see that in multiple sectors, healthcare, education, etc. So I 100% something has to be revamped. But here's the fun part. There's many hounds, and I think they're coming on your show or were on your show
Yeah.
in education who are doing something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're no longer saying, well, hey, we're going to wait for someone to fix the system, the education system, the healthcare system, doctors, teachers, parents, right? Even graduating students are taking charge saying, hey, I want to do what I can, do my part. And I absolutely love that. We haven't seen that for decades, right? So it's as challenging as these things are, as flawed as our systems and things are. It's also exciting to see that we're kind of the first wave of innovators who are just saying, "Hey, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just going to go out there and do it, right? We're going to figure it out as we go." And
Right.
that has opened up a world of collaborations. And that's, again, not to get off in the weeds, but if you look at AI, right now we have our robots talking to robots. At the same time, yes, we're all about efficiency, but we're losing our sense of belonging. We're losing the sense of connection. So my last point to Casey is, I had to take notes. Is yes, having the best expert with the best stuff and the best solutions available, absolutely. But even more now, because of that lack of interaction, because of that lack of personalization, you equally, if not more so, have to be just as you have to vibe with the person you're working with, right? We crave that, even if we're not subconsciously, if we're not even aware of it. So I think the soft skill aspect is just in them. And no longer is it okay to be the best doctor with bad attitude, right? You have to be bedside manners. People are demanding more.
Yes.
And I think in most cases it's a good thing. And that's kind of what we modeled the Hounds with, is how do we create an ecosystem that pushes people up and brings out their best selves, and how can we complement each other? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I love that discussion. That was good. Whew,
Yeah.
I could go
I
on
think
forever on that one.
it was really great stuff. I love it. I think that, and we all have a different experience, right? So, um, for me, being able to come online, do what I do, has opened up my life from a life of complete seclusion because of not being able to work a traditional job anymore, and leaving a 15-year career as a paramedic firefighter, and then going through different phases with illnesses and things like that. It's completely opened up my world again. I don't feel disconnected at all. I feel so very connected to the world, to the globe on a global scale, because I can leave this conversation right now, or even right now. There are people in the feed that are from different parts of the world, right around the world, that we would have never known. I think with AI, for me, I do think we're out of the information age. I do think that we are at the cusp and the lead of what is the innovation age of imagination. And this is what I have to say about it and why. Is that our brains really aren't designed to do things, two things at once, three things at once. We attempt to do that. Can we do it? Yes, but it costs our bodies every single time that we're doing it. So when we allow AI to do the tasks that it opens our brains up to actually be able to be innovative and imaginative, because we're not burning our brain power on these other little tasks. There's a lot there, of course, that goes along with AI and with technology, and the difference in the jobscape that's going to happen and is happening, and all of those things, because systems that are in place are not how they need to be to catch the downfall, right? Because what happens when there are no more restaurant servers, when there's no more fast food workers? Okay, that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, how many people is that putting out of a job? And you can say that's fine. It opens us up to have this higher level of education, this higher level of knowledge, but does it? Does it really? Because is it available in a way that somebody can come in and immediately replace what it is that they've done all their life, or the only thing that they really quote unquote know how to do, right? So my point to that is that it takes so much of us being able to look at that and know that and be ready to catch some of that as people come into their own areas of entrepreneurship, or using the skills that they have that do make them unique to be able to try to consult, or whatever it is being able to, all of us, come together and catch them in a sense that you are unique, you do have skills, and we can support you. This is what we can do to help and that does change the world ultimately. And so I think it can be really exciting also when it's all about perspective. Always, it always is, and how you look at it. But what do you all think, and what do you have to add, Casey? I'll start with you.
No, I mean, I'm glad Mike brought up the soft skills, and that's kind of where I was trying to get.
Yes.
I still think we need connection, and we like people. And
Absolutely.
I was just talking to somebody or reflecting, is I loved it when the internet came out and these initial chat rooms, because I grew up in rural America. My family vacation was going to the county fair. And
Right.
so the world opened up to me, and then my career took me on the path around the world. world. And there's a difference when you are actually in that community, in that culture with those people, that you learn to respect them. And so I still think you need to have the person or the people component, the humanity component to everything we do. So even though we are in AI and knowledge is more accessible, there still needs to be checks and balances.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even in my industry, I'd say AI is supposed to help me make me better. It's not to replace me. And I think you hit on some points of the dangers of AI and robotics, but you know, I still think human culture, we want to be connected to each other. And I've learned that as well, COVID. And now I get to travel and be out with nutritionists, and is being with those people. And it's those off the cuff conversations that bring real change to our world.
I love that. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, the 2 points that, because I love this combo. 2 points. So number one, yeah, I had to write it down. It's been a long week, but um, first of all, I'm doing COVID 4 years after COVID. So I used to go out all the time, very extroverted, love to be around people. I still do. I go out every now and then, but we all joke in the Hounds about how I rarely go to the gas station anymore. But here's what's fun. I can connect with people emotionally and professionally way more. I have more fulfillment virtually with people than I do face to face in my own neighborhood, right? Because I'm a working class guy. I live in a very modest, area, kind of a little neighborhood in the rural area. And, they have jobs. They do. And I'm not knocking it. I'm saying, but I'm out here trying to create life groundbreaking things. I want to make a huge impact and leave a legacy. So I'd much rather, and it took a little while, but I really vibe with people through social media way more in the community than I do in face-to-face interactions. I know it sounds weird, so I don't use the terminology real life and online, because I have connected with many, many people that I've done nothing but talk to daily. And when we met on in person, it was like we always knew each other in person. It was the strangest phenomenon. So I would challenge people to, you know, it's okay. Well, I don't want to be online all the time. We'll do other things, but don't disregard you. I'm going to challenge you. You're going to connect with people on a level that you probably haven't experienced much or at all. If you go out there and find the right people. And again, that's why we dump them in the Hounds, right? Because we want to collect these folks and really hone in on it. And we do meet. I met Jackie Hallberg just a couple of weeks ago. That was
Yes.
amazing. And my daughter, my littlest one, loves her to death. She's still like, "Hey, let's text Jackie," right?
Yeah.
And so that's that point. Number two, real quick, it's what's called the marketing myopia. It's been around forever, right? They
Mhm.
said the same stuff we're saying now about the milkman, right? When's
Absolutely.
the last time you saw a milkman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to take the jobs. Yeah, well, it evolves. And so here's my call. Here's what I've experienced, because we're all at the chopping block. In fact, think about it. Jobs that didn't exist 10 plus years ago. But I never heard a content creator when I was in college, right? In
Right.
1999. It
Yeah.
didn't exist. So what I want to challenge is like, hey, we're a cable company. Well, now we have to be a communications company. We have to broaden our scope. And so for example, if you're a content creator, well, AI is taking the jobs. Yeah. However, AI is an infant that puts out a lot of crappy stuff. So why don't you try to pivot and become an editor, right? Instead of just a
Yeah.
copywriter. I mean, we have to evolve with these times. So my
Absolutely.
call to action is this. Let's get mentally prepared and stop looking at loss and start looking at opportunity. How can I evolve this thing that I'm good at and create something else? And COVID really pushed us. I mean, think about it. It's happening all around us. Pay equity, right? Being treated fairly. Like there's many women who are just tired of that, so they're starting their own companies who are going to model fairness and equity according to their standards, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
That's why I created the Hounds. It's not that other communities are bad. I
No.
just didn't find one that checked all the boxes for me, right? I didn't feel 100% engaged and yes, this is my tribe, right? And I think start looking at it. It's your choice. You evolve. You look at you, right? You get serious about your values and joy. Start defining success for yourself, dadgummit. That's what I did. I said, screw what I've been told, forget who's telling me what. I'm gonna go out there and try courage before confidence. And that's what you guys are all about. You two, I can feel it. The audience can sense it. Have courage. Be okay. I put this hat on. Somebody just destroyed me the first day I put this hat on. I let myself out and somebody just knocked me down. I got back up. Thank God I did, because now the life-changing effects of that 2 years ago, has been astronomical. So stop looking at it as a loss and try to find the opportunity. As corny as it sounds, you're talking to a dude in a camo hat who's living a dream. It can happen. Make it happen. Dadgummit.
It does happen, and that's what I love about this day and age. I really do, is that you can take your skills, like I said, the 10 facts that you know well. That's where you start. Nothing, no thing, or any person or enterprise or any of those things can threaten your autonomy anymore. That's the power of the day, and that's the the same that I do want everyone to understand. When evolution was talked about, even in the beginning, it was never survival of the fittest. It is survival of the collaborators, the cooperators, and the innovators. That wolf packs don't run one hound at a time. They absolutely do not. And that's one thing I love about the hounds and the concept of the hounds and the way that you built it too, is that it's not just, and there's everyone is an alpha or no one's an alpha at all, right? It's either way you want to go there as far as it is, but nobody gets left behind. And in a wolf pack, when they're walking across, and they're migrating, the alpha male, right, is behind. You want to know why? Because you can see everything that's happening to your pack because they're in front of you and you can see what's going on. If you're in front, sometimes doesn't mean you don't need to be in front, because leaders do have those moments. But when you're in the front, everything's happening behind you, right? And I just think that if we open our vision, if we can see what exciting things that there are, because there's nothing that you can't do with your life. There's nothing that you can't do with your life. There's nothing that's being taken away from you. Just like you said, there's so many different opportunities. And really, I do want all of you all, even if you're substantiated already and you're doing what you love, what can you do to love it more? What can you do to make it bigger? What can you do to scale? How can you pass your passion down on and into other people's hands? How can you delegate so that you can keep growing? Your baby, quote unquote, doesn't always have to stay your baby, right? Sometimes it's meant to be handed off. And if you can't do something with something, hand it off to somebody else. If you have an idea that you don't have the time to chase it down or to nail it down or to really bring it into fruition, but you know somebody that can, don't hold on to that. Give that stuff, like throw it away or throwing it over like candy. It's a gift, and gift somebody else that can actually do something with that. Really, all we have to do is just continue to evolve and continue to be adaptable. And I see so much, and it breaks my heart, people that are not. And so I kind of want to end with that on that note. What are some ways, and we'll, from both of you, that if someone's struggling with adaptability, how can they support themselves in the process so that they're not left behind and so that they're not being so rigid that they break rather than bend? Casey?
Wow, that's incredible. I think you need to find the person you want to become and use them as a role model and a guide. And I would say, I'm not anti AI or tech. These are tools to make you better,
Yes.
right? To make the person better. Social media, online. Yes, it's open doors for everybody. But who do you want to be like? And find that person and figure out how they got where they got. Implement some of the same things. And I had to learn this as well. And I've struggled the last 4 years. It has not been an easy road, and everybody thinks it's glamorous. It's not. But, it's really surrounding you with the people, and you do become your tribe, right? And it doesn't matter if it's in person. If you can't have those people, like I can't have the high quality people I need to be surrounded by in person every day in my community, but I can online. And I think that's what Mike was trying to say, is that helps me, right? they're a phone call away. It's that relationship. But then it's also magic when we do finally get together in person as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's, find who you want to be, figure out how they got to that point, and do the same things. And then surround you with people that are better than you, that emulate the things that you find important, that you want to be, and become that.
I think that's a really beautiful way to put it. And I have sadly worked with so many people, and that's one of the first questions that I actually ask. Who's your role model? I want to know, who is your role model? Who do you look up to? And 98% of people that I have worked with have actually not been able to answer that question and not had a role model. And, it's like, okay, well, that's part of a core problem, right there. So let's find you, right? Let's find you a role model. Let's find somebody that has these skills and those things that it is that you're wanting. Because we are the sum of the 5 people, right? We are the sum of those influences, and that is so absolutely true. What do you say, Mike?
Wow, that was great. I love that, Casey. Thank you so much. And here's my sage advice. This is my discount fortune cookie thing for you guys, man, for hanging in there. All right. Stop thinking and being a daggum chess piece. All right. Get out of the forest and zoom out. Become a chess master. That's the difference. Well, this job, that job, this skill, that skill. I'm a blank. Hey, well, listen, hey, what do I want to be? Matter of fact, as much as I talk, I'll equally like to sit back, go to solitude, and rethink my values, rethink definition of success. Is this really my definition of success? Is this who I want to be, right? Or is this what I've been conditioned to be? So start thinking and asking yourself, is this really me? Or is this who I've been told to be, or that, people around me? And so I would just, it sounds crazy, but expand your horizons. Look at different philosophies. I'll give you an example. Um, when I look at what I wanted to do, like I used to hate Stoic philosophy, right? I just, my intro, what I knew about it. But throughout my life experiences, I realized it's helping me come back to a center line, right? It's helping me in aspects and things that are improving my life, my business, my relationships. And so I went from I didn't like it to I like it. And here's the difference. Stop saying yes and no to things that you don't know about. Here, if you're going to make a life-changing decision, if you're going to make a decision that could impact your life in huge ways and other people's lives in the future, do you want to base that? Do you want to base that on a little bit of information, or do you want to base it on all the correct information you can possibly get? That's my calling card. I don't care if people say yes and no to me, my community, my marketing course, none of it. What I care about is what the hell you're saying yes and no to. That's how winning is done. All right, go out there, explore it, try it out, fail. But hey, I failed. Well, okay, am I going to try it again or am I done? Here's the last thing. Will I regret this decision in 5 years? On the flip side, will this matter in 5 years? Start
Right.
thinking longer term.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I've gotten upset about stuff and I don't even remember what it was 3 years ago, right? So I just think sitting back, asking questions, responding rather than reacting. Don't be a fish. We got a veterinarian, right? Fish react. You throw the fish out, you throw the hook out. How many times you catch the same fish? If you're country, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
reaction. Stop reacting. Respond. Hey, I'm not a chess piece. I'm not at the mercy of outside circumstances. Dadgummit, I'm powerful beyond belief, right? How do I tap into that? How do I flex my muscle in this regard? It's the same thing. Like I used to love Muay Thai and these kind of things. So I challenged myself to swim. It was like throwing a rock in the pool. It was really bad, but I kept doing it. And that experience was uncomfortable. So doing things like that will make you more comfortable in uncomfort, which builds resilience, which deepens your roots and makes you stronger. Right. So stop being a damn tumbleweed and go out there and focus on building your roots and defining life on your terms. I know that's a lot, but that's a common theme I see. You don't have a business problem, dadgummit. You have a confidence
Yes.
problem because you're not happy. Go get
Right.
happy and see how much better your business blows up first. Right.
Oh my
That's
God,
it.
right? So important for us to be able, and I start with exactly that question. Are those core values, are those yours? Prove it to me. And I'm actually going to prove you wrong. because when we are starting out, for the most part, we really are starting out with other people's values, and we cannot build on a foundation like that. We can, but we can be so much more successful, so much more stronger if we're not building on a foundation that is built around something that that we are not even aware of. The truth of the matter is this: it's called a mirror effect, right? The longer that we look at anything, doesn't matter what it is that we're looking at, we are going to end up developing a care for that thing. We're going to end up developing wanting to nurture it, love it, take care of it. It's why things, it's why we can stay in relationships that are bad for us, even though they're bad for us and they're killing us. It's because we love and we see that person every single day. That's why victims can still love their, perpetrator, all of those types of things. Start looking in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror every single day and start doing that just with looking at yourself, because most people cannot even do that. Most people can't actually just sit in front of a mirror and look at themselves. It makes you feel uncomfortable. Sit there and do that until you're not uncomfortable anymore, and then pick up things. Like you said, we can have anything at the tip of our hands. Look up everything that's the complete freaking opposite of everything that you've been told is what you're supposed to believe or how you're supposed to behave or all of those things, and then be able to see what the commonalities are, be able to feel yourself grow into, hey, oh, really, at the end of the day, we can be neutral about everything ourselves. And when we're in a place of neutrality, we can be non-judgmental, we can be accepting, we can be adaptable, we can be all of those things. I know that all of us could go on and talk forever and ever and ever about all of this, and I am paying attention to the time. And I dropped my mouse and I do have to reach down and get it. So I'm going to disappear for just a second. Everything except for my big hat. Okay, thanks, you guys. So yes, let's talk about really knowing what it is that is important to you. And I'm just gonna say, Mike was saying earlier, and he's saying now again in the chat, right? Take that personal responsibility. I put that as putting the I in response ability. And that comes down to the things that you see that you want to change, right? If you're like, man, somebody should do something about this, you're the person, you're the one that's having the thought, do something about it. And even like I said, even if that's writing it down and reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, I don't even know what to do with this, but I know that there's something here. And whoever you reach out to, guaranteed, is going to be able to say, ooh, I don't know either, but you know what? I know somebody that does. Or, ooh, let's really, as you talk about it, as you give it life, it blossoms right in front of you. Mike, remove the buttons. Man, I have very, very few buttons, right? And that's really important. Just going through life and being able to understand and grow and mature. So important to be able to adapt. You have to be able to know yourself. Own yourself, love yourself, respect yourself, be graceful with yourself, and all of that pours out. It really is true that we have to be centered in ourselves. Taking care of yourself is not being self-centered. It's being centered in self, and you absolutely have to be able to do that. So Mike and Casey, thank you so much for being my guest today. It's been such a great, wonderful conversation. I really love what you've brought. I love what you bring to the world, both of you. I just love and admire both of you so much. And everyone out there today, thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation that I'm definitely coming back in for after we're finished, because there was a whole bunch of talk going on over in the side from the pack. I missed some things about dancing and just all kinds of stuff going on over there. So really great stuff. And thank you all for being here. Today is number day number 5. We still have many days to go. Tomorrow will be the one and only weekend edition of this, just simply because our very special guest could not make it in on another day. So tomorrow, same place, same time, and it'll be a great conversation. Again, thank you all for everything that you do. You are seen, you're heard, you're loved, you're worthy, you're appreciated. Get out there, go kill the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.